Young Thug is reportedly furious after Kodak Black turned down his offer to join YSL Records. Thug even told the world he'd give Kodak whatever he wanted to make the deal happen, but Kodak walked away anyway. And according to people close to the situation, it wasn't the rejection itself that upset Young Thug the most. Let me break it down. Kodak the Blessing is Kodak Black's 9th studio album released on June 12, 2026. The album was surprise released to mark his 29th birthday, and he stated it would be his last under a major label, that he'd be releasing music independently going forward. That declaration sent a shockwave through the industry. Think about what that means for a second. One of the most unpredictable, consistently productive rappers in the game walking away from the major label machine on his own terms. No drama, no messy split, just a mic drop wrapped in a 26-track project. 26 new songs. Kodak ran it up and walked out the door at the same time. The internet lit up with reactions. Fans celebrated the independence angle. Industry heads took note. And somewhere on the other side of the country, a man freshly out of a years-long legal nightmare was watching the announcement roll through his timeline. That man was Jeffrey Williams, Young Thug, Thugger. And the moment he saw Kodak go independent, he didn't waste a single second. He didn't DM. He didn't have a manager call. He went straight to the public, and he made one of the boldest label pitches hip-hop has seen in years. Young Thug hopped on social media to let the world know he'd give practically anything to have Kodak Black sign a recording contract with YSL Records. He took to X on Sunday, June 21, to respond to reports that Black was now independent after ending his deal with Capitol Records. The timing of it was everything. Kodak hadn't even had a full week to breathe after the album dropped. The ink on his independence wasn't even dry, and Thug was already there, hand extended, blank check in the other one. Reposting the announcement from my mixtapes, Thug wrote, "If he would do a deal with me, I would give that boy whatever he thinks he want, no sizzy." Read that again. Whatever he thinks he want. That's not a negotiation. That's not an opening bid. That's a full surrender before the conversation even started. For someone who just walked out of one of the most brutal legal ordeals in hip-hop history, to then immediately pivot and extend that kind of offer publicly, it tells you something about where Thug's head is at. He's not just a free man. He's hungry, and he's moving. Via Twitter, Thug offered Kodak a blank check to sign with Young Stoner Life Records. It shows how much respect he has for the Florida rapper, artistically and brand-wise, even if they haven't collaborated much in the past. And that's the real thing people keep glossing over. These two men don't have a long collaborative history. They've been in each other's orbit. They've said each other's names in interviews. But a proper song together, a real business relationship, it's never materialized. And here's Thug treating this like it's the most natural thing in the world. Kodak the Blessing was dropped in a surprise release the day after his 29th birthday and featured appearances from artists including 1900 Rugrat, Rilo Rodriguez, and Friday. If Black were to join YSL Records, he'd join a roster that includes Strick, Young K.O., 1300 Saint, Tezus, and Diamond, and Thug himself. So you'd be looking at Kodak Black, one of the most streamed rappers on the planet, pulling up alongside that YSL infrastructure. That's not a small proposition. That's a power move. The label previously signed Gunna, Lil Baby, Nine Vicious, and Lil Keed, names that became household names under that YSL umbrella. And Thug knows the brand he's built. The man built a label while sitting in a jail cell for over 2 years. He released an album while incarcerated. He navigated a trial that became the longest in Georgia's history. And on the other side of all of that, his first major move is to go after one of the most independent-minded artists in the game. That takes confidence, or recklessness, maybe both. But the fans had thoughts, loud ones. Some fans supported the proposition, but many assumed Kodak was happy being independent and clowned Thug for trying to get him back in a label situation. And that tension between Thug's ambition and Kodak's declaration of freedom is where the real story starts. Because this wasn't just about a record deal. It was about two men, both emerging from some of the roughest periods of their careers, and a gap in where they see themselves going. Kodak the Blessing serves as his first major full-length project of 2026, following just getting started in 2025. The pattern is clear. Yak is on a relentless output pace. He dropped in 2025. He dropped again in 2026. He's building towards something, and he's doing it on his own clock. The album arrived as a raw 26-track surprise tape with little fanfare or pre-release promotion. He lets the music tell the story. That's not the behavior of a man who needs a label boss co-signing his moves. That's a man who's already operating like he owns the operation. The opening track, Blessing, serves as a guiding light of sorts, with Yak reflecting on just how much luck went into his status. As one of the biggest names in rap, this is Kodak standing in his own lane, counting his blessings on his own terms, with no major label contract clause telling him what he can and can't say. So when Young Thug makes his pitch, even a blank check pitch, the read from Kodak's side of the street is, why would I trade this for anything? He just got free. Why go back to a contract of any kind? But here's the wrinkle that makes this whole thing far more loaded than it looks on the surface. Because the history between Young Thug and Kodak Black isn't just about music, it's about jail time, leaked calls, sliding into DMs that were absolutely not for him, and a whole complicated web of mutual history that makes Thug's offer either gracious or audacious depending on your perspective. And to understand why Thug went off when Kodak didn't bite, you have to go back, way back. Young Thug, 33, had been jailed since his arrest in May 2022 on charges related to leading an alleged street gang, Young Slime Life, with members accused of committing illegal and violent acts including murder, armed robbery, drug dealing, and carjacking. The man went from releasing some of the most influential music in hip-hop history to sitting inside Fulton County Jail while the world watched a courtroom circus play out on live stream. Fans, lawyers, rappers, everybody had an opinion on what was happening to Thug. The YSL Records racketeering trial involved rapper Jeffrey Young Thug Williams and several associates from his record label. Prosecutors alleged that YSL operated both as a legitimate record label and as a criminal street gang under Georgia's RICO laws. The charge alone was a statement. They weren't just saying he broke the law, they were saying the entire ecosystem he built, the label, the artists, the brand was a front, that everything he'd worked for was evidence against him. His own song lyrics were used in court. The case relied heavily on song lyrics as evidence, a controversial practice that drew backlash from the music industry and efforts by lawmakers to stop it. The case saw Thug sit in jail for years while the messy proceedings, the longest in state history, played out in court, turning his charges into a cause célèbre and raising big questions about procedural fairness. And through all of it, Kodak Black was out there, free, watching, and apparently doing a bit more than just watching. Because while Young Thug was locked up, fighting one of the most consequential RICO cases Atlanta had ever seen, a leaked jail call came to light that put Kodak squarely in the middle of the personal side of Thug's life. In a clip shared by Libaites on Instagram, Mariah the Scientist alleged to Thug on a call that Kodak Black sent her a message saying he was fed up about her. Mariah read the whole alleged message out to Thugger, which also included references to Kodak's then incarcerated status and Thug's own jail time over the YSL RICO case. She said she rejected his advances, and the Atlanta rapper basically laughed the whole thing off, with the R&B singer also claiming that Kodak had been like that since they first met. Now, let that sit. Your homie, someone who's been in your orbit, who you've shown love to publicly, slides into your girlfriend's DMs while you're in jail on a RICO case. And the girl you love has to be the one to tell you about it on a jailhouse phone call, the same phone calls that were being recorded in the clip. Mariah is heard telling Young Thug that Kodak messaged her saying he was F'd up about her. Mariah read the alleged message aloud and described references to Young Thug's own legal troubles stemming from the YSL RICO case. So Kodak wasn't just shooting his shot, he was referencing Thug's situation in the message, acknowledging the fact that Thug was locked up while doing it. That detail changes the temperature of the whole thing. While the message reportedly started off with well wishes for Young Thug, the sender then pivoted into suggesting Mariah should consider seeing him while Thug was locked up. But in the meantime, shawty, I've been ficked up about you, and I just can't put that to rest, the man wrote. I'd love to come to some kind of terms with you, bae. You know it's queen treatment only. She told young Thug she responded that she had a man and wasn't going against what she had. Mariah held it down, full stop. She didn't entertain it. She didn't keep it quiet. She told her man to his face, even from a jailhouse phone, and Thug laughed. But whether that laugh was genuine, unbothered energy or a man swallowing something heavier behind bars, that's a question worth sitting with. Maybe Thugger forgot about it, or he's already put it past them. Either way, it's curious to think about this as the context, because now, fast forward to June 2026, Kodak drops an album, declares independence, and the very next day, young Thug publicly offers him a blank check to sign to YSL. That's not nothing. That's a man extending an open hand to someone who, in the most uncharitable reading of history, tried to move in on his girl while he was caged. Whether Thug is truly over it, whether this is a power play dressed up as generosity, or whether this is genuinely just two artists seeing an opportunity, it's layered. And Kodak's silence in response to the offer has made it even more so. Thug posted, "If he would do a deal with me, I would give that boy whatever he think he want, no sizzy." Some fans supported the proposition, but many assumed Kodak was happy being independent and clowned Thug for trying to get him back in a label situation. The hashtag no sizzy was a flex in itself. No sizzy is slang for no bullshit, no smoke, no games. Thug was trying to signal sincerity. Look, I'm not playing around. I'm not lowballing you. I'm not posturing. Name your price. But Kodak didn't bite, and he didn't just quietly decline. He kept moving, kept posting, kept being Kodak. The silence around the offer spoke volumes in a way that a public rejection never could have. There was no thanks but no thanks. No acknowledgement, no counteroffer, just freedom. A lot of folks are happy for Yak, hoping his independence means even more new music than usual in the future. Others pointed to his newfound control of business and industry dealings on his own terms. And when you look at what Thug himself went through at the hands of the label and legal system, when you realize YSL, the brand he built, was literally used as a weapon against him in a courtroom, you start to wonder why Kodak would want any part of that baggage. The YSL case centered on allegations that Young Slime Life, a group founded by Thug, was not merely a music collective but a criminal enterprise responsible for a string of violent crimes. Prosecutors allege the organization had operated out of Southeast Atlanta since 2012, committing acts of murder, drug trafficking, and weapons violations under the cover of a legitimate record label. Even if you believe every single one of those charges was overblown, and a lot of people do, the stain doesn't wash off overnight. On October 31, 2024, Thug's legal representation announced his intent to accept a deal from the prosecution, and within an hour, that's exactly what happened. The development came amid a trial that had earned the title of the longest trial in Georgia history. On Halloween, Thug accepted a plea deal. Later the same day, he was sentenced to 40 years, 5 years in prison, commuted to time served, 15 years of probation, and a backload of 20 years in prison if probation is violated. Let that land. He walked out free, but the weight he walked out with, it doesn't go in the luggage, it goes in the chest. The plea deal resulted in him being sentenced to time served and 15 years probation, which came with numerous strict conditions. The YSL rapper is banned from the Metro Atlanta area for 10 years, unable to make gang references in his music, and prohibited from contacting any of his co-defendants other than his brother Unfunk and Gunna, banned from Atlanta, his city, the city he rapped about, built a label in, put on the map with a whole new sound. He can't even be there for the next decade without risking 20 years behind bars. That's not freedom. That's parole on an invisible leash. And yet, here's Thug, barely a year and a half out of custody, operating like he's got all the energy in the world. Rebuilding, reaching, extending blank checks to Florida rappers on X. He must submit to random drug tests, deliver anti-gang and anti-gun violence presentations in schools, and complete 100 hours of community service during each year of his probation. If a judge rules that he's violated any of these conditions, Thug will serve 20 years of backloaded prison time, meaning he's essentially walking a legal tightrope until 2039. Until 2039, 15 years of watching every step, every post, every business association, every public statement. Now, look at the other side of that picture. Thug was released from jail in October after a judge sentenced him to just probation, a stunning defeat for District Attorney Fani Willis after her office had labeled him a dangerous gang boss, the DA, who built a case so enormous it consumed years and millions in taxpayer money, walked away with a man on probation, not in prison, on probation. And that outcome, that stunning, almost disbelieving outcome became the platform. Thug stands on now. He's free. He's rebuilding YSL. He's signing artists. He's going on live streams. He's on X making blank check offers. The man who was supposed to go away for decades is out here moving with the urgency of someone who knows exactly how close he came to losing everything and has zero intention of slowing down, which is exactly why Kodak's refusal stings the way it does to understand why Young Thug extending a public offer to Kodak Black carries so much weight, and why Kodak's silence in response is so loaded. You have to understand the machine that tried to swallow Thug whole. The investigation came to a head in May 2022 when Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's office unsealed a 65-count indictment against Young Thug and 27 associates. Under Georgia's RICO statute, 65 counts, 27 associates, one indictment that read less like a court document and more like a declaration of war against an entire culture. The trial began on November 27, 2023, following the May 2022 indictment of 28 individuals associated with YSL. It became one of the longest and expensive criminal trials in Georgia history. Nobody who was watching this thing unfold in real time can fully articulate how surreal it was. A rapper's record label on trial, lyrics used as evidence, slang terms being debated by prosecutors who couldn't tell a bar from a billboard. It was bizarre, it was historic, and it was terrifying, because at the center of it was a real man in a real cell with a real family watching. The trial featured 2 judicial recusals and the arrest of 2 defense attorneys. There were intense disputes around the meaning of various phrases, including the meaning of the acronym YSL and the song. Lyrics of the defendant's records were found to be admissible at one point. The prosecution and defense were literally arguing about what YSL stood for and what it meant, a label name. 3 letters, Thug built into a dynasty, became Exhibit A. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis used Georgia's racketeer-influenced and corrupt organization statute to claim Young Thug and his associates were a street gang with ties to the National Bloods gang. It's worth noting what RICO actually does when it's weaponized like this. It doesn't just say you broke the law, it says your entire organization is the law breaking. It reaches back in time, scoops up associations, conversations, lyrics, videos, texts, anything that can be framed as evidence of an ongoing criminal enterprise. And in Thug's case, that enterprise was his music label. Prosecutors alleged that members of the YSL enterprise had committed murders, carjackings, drug dealing, and many other crimes, and that Thug was the king, slime crime boss, running the operation from the top. But when the trial kicked off, that sweeping narrative proved difficult to litigate. In court, the state came in with a sledgehammer and kept missing the nail, witness after witness, delay after delay. The whole thing cracked when the state's own star witness walked it back. Prosecutors claimed Thug was the kingpin of a Bloods-affiliated gang called Young Slime Life. But their theory of the case seemed to falter in August when their key witness, Kenneth Woody Copeland, got on the stand and disavowed his prior statements implicating Williams in a 2015 murder. The case the DA's office had bet everything on started falling apart right there on the stand, in public, in front of cameras. And that's when the plea discussions picked back up. According to reports, Thugger rejected a previous offer from the prosecution that involved 15 years probation, but with special conditions requiring him to take ownership and responsibility for being the leader of YSL. His lawyer, Brian Steele, said the trial was holding Young Thug hostage and that's why he eventually opted for the plea deal. That detail is crucial. The first offer on the table required Thug to essentially validate the state's entire argument, to go on record saying, "Yes, I ran this criminal enterprise." He said, "No, that's not the move of a guilty man trying to minimize damage. That's a man who believes he's innocent and won't let the state put words in his mouth, even if it means staying in prison longer." That posture, that stubbornness, that refusal to fold on principle is what makes the eventual plea so complicated. Because when he did take the deal, it wasn't a capitulation, it was exhaustion. His longtime lawyer, Brian Steele, said Williams agreed to the plea against his advice because Williams had been living behind bars under deplorable conditions since his May 2022 arrest and was desperate to be free. The man had been in that jail for over 2 years. Conditions described as deplorable, watching co-defendants cycle in and out on plea deals. And the trial, this marathon of a proceeding, showed no signs of ending. After an unprecedented 10-month jury selection process, prosecutors slowly worked through a vast list of witnesses that included more than 100 names. 10 months. Just to pick a jury, that's not a trial, that's a siege on Halloween. Thug accepted a plea deal. Later the same day, he was sentenced to 40 years. 5 years in, prison commuted to time served, 15 years of probation, and a backload of 20 years in prison. If probation is violated, his release and probation conditions include being banned from the metro Atlanta area for 10 years, not being allowed to make gang references in his music, being required to do 4 annual anti-gang presentations or concerts for Atlanta, and not being allowed to have any contact with known gang members or co-defendants other than Gunna and his older brother, Unfunk. No gang references in the music. Think about what that means for a man whose entire artistic identity is built on the streets of Atlanta, the language of those streets, the slang of his people. The state essentially said, "We'll let you out, but you have to sanitize the art. You have to file down the edges that made you." He founded his own music label, YSL Records, in 2016 and racked up 3 #1 albums on the Billboard chart, working with Travis Scott, Post Malone, Meek Mill, and Drake. In 2019, he won a Grammy Award for Song of the Year for co-writing Childish Gambino's "This Is America." A Grammy winner, a man who helped craft one of the most culturally significant songs of the decade, living under probation conditions that read like a court-ordered personality transplant. But here's what nobody could have anticipated. The 2 remaining co-defendants who didn't take plea deals, when they were acquitted of all charges and walked free, Thug called his lawyer about 5 minutes after that verdict came down. He was happy for them, very happy. But there was a part of him, his lawyer admitted, that was thinking they probably should have gone all the way, because they would have walked out with a not guilty verdict as well. That call between Thug and his lawyer tells you everything about the man's emotional state in the months after his release. Relief and regret, sitting side by side. He was free, but he'd signed away 15 years of his life, 15 years of monitoring, restrictions, and a 20-year sword hanging over his head, potentially unnecessarily. Young Thug has some regrets over taking a plea deal in YSL's long-running RICO case, given that the remaining defendants both walked free from court. According to his lawyer, Keith Adams, given that several jurors who oversaw the trial have since spoken out in support of young Thug, the rapper may have been better served waiting a month, as a not guilty verdict would have freed him of any obligations to the state. It's worth noting, however, that if Thug were to have been convicted, he would have likely been given a prison sentence much longer than 20 years. So it's easy to say he should have waited, but easy math from the outside doesn't account for what it feels like to be inside, counting days, watching your case slowly become the laughingstock of the legal system while you're still behind bars under deplorable conditions. And yet, over 3 years after young Thug, Gunna, and other YSL collective affiliates received an Atlanta indictment on gang charges, the sprawling, controversial, and grueling court process finally came to a close. The chapter is closed. The case is done. Thug is out. And the question now isn't what happened in that courtroom. It's what he does with the years he has left. He founded YSL Records in 2016. That label, the one that prosecutors tried to dismantle as evidence of a criminal enterprise, is still standing, still operational, still signing artists, and that's the defiance that matters more than any tweet or Instagram post. Thug didn't rename it. He didn't distance himself from the brand. He came out of that ordeal and immediately started rebuilding under the same flag, the same 3 letters they tried to take from him. If Black were to join YSL Records, he'd join a roster that includes Strick, Young Kayo, 1300 Saint, Tezus, and Diamond, and Thug himself. So the offer to Kodak isn't just about signing an artist. It's about expanding the YSL universe, restoring the commercial weight that the label lost during those years of legal turmoil. It's Thug saying, "This thing I built is still worth something. It's still a home for real artists, come see." And Kodak, who's watched all of this from the outside, who's had his own run-ins with the law, who knows exactly what it means to build a brand from nothing, in the face of constant scrutiny, walked right past the open door. The blank check stayed unsigned, and the internet went wild. 9 Vicious reportedly claims Young Thug is lying about resigning him to YSL Records after Thug claimed during a live stream that he's doing exactly that. So it's not just Kodak causing friction. The YSL rebuild is hitting turbulence from multiple directions. Thug is clearly in expansion mode, reaching for established artists, talking about resignings on live streams, but the execution isn't always landing cleanly, and every stumble gets amplified on social media. The fans who clown Thug for his Kodak offer aren't wrong on the optics. It does look strange from the outside for a man freshly out of a RICO case to immediately start playing label boss. Many fans clown Thug for trying to get Kodak back in a label situation. There's an instinct among hip-hop fans to protect artists from the machine, and YSL, regardless of Thug's personal integrity, is now permanently associated with that machinery, with legal exposure, with everything that makes independence look attractive by comparison. But watch what you're actually saying when you say that. You're saying the state succeeded. You're saying the prosecution did its job, not in a courtroom, but in the court of public perception. They put YSL on trial, lost the legal argument, but won the cultural one. The brand got damaged. The label's ability to attract top talent got impaired. And Kodak staying independent is, in some small way, the living proof of that. Several defendants, including Young Thug and Gunna, entered plea agreements during the trial, resulting in prison sentences and other conditions. And the fallout from those plea deals, specifically Gunna's, opened wounds that are still raw today. In December 2022, Gunna accepted an Alford plea deal, sending shockwaves through social media and sparking rumors of snitching on his brother. The snitching conversation around YSL became one of the central fault lines in hip-hop for an entire year. It divided artists, fans, Atlanta, the whole culture, and it brought other voices into the conversation. Voices like Boosie Badazz, who has been one of the loudest moral arbiters in rap for years. That intersection between the YSL drama, the snitching debate, and Kodak Black's position in all of it is a thread that doesn't just disappear when Thug offers Kodak a record deal. It's still there running underneath everything. Because Kodak at various points has been pulled into this conversation too, not just as a bystander, but as someone with specific opinions about what happened inside that trial and how certain people should be held accountable. And those opinions put him directly at odds with Boosie Badazz, whose own feud with Yak created one of the most chaotic rap beef sub-stories of 2025, and that drama, it dragged Young Thug right back into the room. Kodak Black thinks Boosie Badazz should drag Young Thug as much as he did. 6 IK's 9 for his snitching scandal. Kodak and Boosie are beefing once more, and it's about the Young Thug snitching debate and all the Atlanta fallout. The Florida MC thinks the Baton Rouge rapper isn't holding Thugger accountable, which is hypocritical given Boosie's past slandering of folks like 6ix 9 for similar rat accusations. So Kodak's position on the Young Thug situation isn't silence. He's had opinions, he's pointed fingers. He called out Boosie for a perceived double standard, ride for the Atlanta guys, drag the New York guys, and in doing so put himself in a position that was anything but friendly toward Thug's camp. The confrontation began in September 2025, when Kodak questioned Boosie's conspicuous silence regarding Young Thug's ongoing RICO proceedings, taking to Instagram to challenge what he perceived as hypocrisy from someone known for speaking out on hip-hop controversies. Kodak's pointed criticism suggested that Boosie, typically vocal about industry injustices, had abandoned his advocacy role when it mattered most. Now here's the part that makes this all even more extraordinary. In September 2025, Kodak was questioning why Boosie wasn't holding Thug accountable, essentially putting himself in a position opposed to Thug's legacy and legal narrative. And 9 months later, in June 2026, Thug is publicly offering Kodak a blank check deal. That's a massive pivot. Either one of them changed their stance, or there's something more complex happening, a kind of transactional diplomacy dressed up as brotherhood. The current explosion between Kodak and Boosie stems from grievances dating to July 2023, when Boosie criticized Kodak's professional association with Tekashi 619. In hip-hop's unforgiving moral landscape, collaborating with someone, widely considered an informant, represents an unforgivable transgression. That initial criticism created lasting animosity, with each rapper nursing grudges that have now manifested in increasingly personal attacks. So Boosie attacked Kodak for working with 619. Kodak fired back by saying Boosie should be consistent. If you're gonna call out rats, call out all rats. And in Kodak's calculation, that included Young Thug, which put Kodak on record on social media in that September 2025 window as someone who had issues with how the Thug situation was being handled. Then Thug comes home, rebuilds, and reaches across that entire mess to say, "Come sign with me, whatever you want." Blank check. That is either the most impressive display of moving past beef in recent memory, or it's a calculated play from a man who knows exactly what Kodak's independence means for his label's credibility and wants to convert that cultural capital into YSL's resurrection story. Either way, it didn't work. And the reasons it didn't work are woven into everything that came before it. The thing about the summer and fall of 2025 is that it turned into a referendum, not a legal one. The RICO case was winding down in the courts, but a cultural one. A referendum on loyalty, accountability, snitching, survival, and what it means to hold your ground or not. In a pointed video targeting Kodak Black, the Louisiana rapper declared, "You checked PC, my end. Nothing you rap is valid anymore, bro." In response, Kodak highlighted a list of peers who reportedly declined protective custody, including Young Thug, prompting the Atlanta artist to weigh in. Protective custody, PC, for those outside the prison world, checking PC means asking to be separated from the general prison population for your own safety. In the culture of the streets, it's often read as a coward's move, a signal that you can't survive without institutional protection. Boosie has built an entire public persona on never checking out, on walking every yard with his chest out, on being the one guy who refuses to fold regardless of the environment. And when he went at Kodak over it, he wasn't just talking about cells and dormitories. He was talking about character. Kodak pushed back by pointing to other artists and figures who allegedly avoided protective custody while serving time. Among the names he referenced was Young Thug, which soon drew the Atlanta rapper into the conversation. Speaking with no jumper, Young Thug offered a more measured take on the subject and the dangers inmates can face in general housing. Thug's response when it came was not the fire and brimstone reaction some might have expected. He explained that PC is smarter, that the hard shit gets you nothing but heartaches from your family and kids and more charges if there's too much going on in the dorms. Boosie responded with a lengthy rebuttal, accusing Thug of contradicting his own position. What Boosie was really saying is layered. If you're going to present yourself as someone who ran the streets, who built a gang, who led an enterprise that the state spent years and millions trying to take down, then you can't also be the guy who advocates for protective custody. As the smart play, the optics don't line up. And Boosie, who has historically been one of the most uncompromising voices about street code, wasn't letting that slide. Boosie wrote, "Thugger, if it's smarter to check PC, why you ain't check PC? Cause you can't check PC. If you say you a real nigga. Ooh, from the trenches, you know how this SHT go brah. Check PC, you a cord." Simple as that. There it is. Stripped down to the bone. In Boosie's world, you don't get to hold two positions at once. You either believe in the code or you don't. You either stood on your square or you didn't. And the moment you start arguing that checking PC is the smart move, you've already lost the argument, because smart isn't the point. The point is standing on what you claim to believe in, regardless of the personal cost. Now throw Kodak into this. Kodak, who was the one who lit the original fuse by calling out Boosie's silence. The Florida MC thinks the Baton Rouge rapper isn't holding Thugger accountable, which is hypocritical given Boosie's past slandering of folks, like 619 for similar rat accusations. So Kodak's position in this whole food chain of discourse is essentially, I was consistent. I called out Thug when I thought he deserved it. Boosie didn't. That's the hypocrisy. That's the double standard that nobody wants to touch. Boosie wasted no time clapping back with a heated post on X, dismissing Kodak's criticisms while making it clear that money is a deciding factor in whether or not he addresses Thug's situation. And in doing so, he kind of confirmed Kodak's point that his public advocacy isn't pure moral principle, it's also business. He'll speak when the bag arrives, which is honest at least, but it does undercut the idea that Boosie is some kind of incorruptible truth teller. Boosie also posted, "On top of that, you check PC, my nae. Come on, man. You walked to the left when you got off the bus. The whole Fed system will tell you this. I don't want to go back and forth with you. Get off the drugs and go get you some help." That last line, "get off the drugs and go get you some help," is the knife in the ribs. Boosie wasn't just arguing about protective custody anymore. He was going at Kodak's personal state, his well-being, his credibility as a functional adult. And Kodak, he kept going from legal issues and controversial statements to presidential pardons and admitted substance abuse struggles. It's hard to imagine the rapper is still only in his 20s. That line from a reviewer of his new album says more about the weight Kodak carries into every public moment than any single beef post could. He's 29 years old, carrying the accumulated baggage of a career that has been defined as much by chaos as it has by craft. Boosie's aggressive response gains context when considering his own current legal predicament. Having pleaded guilty to federal firearms charges stemming from a 2023 arrest in San Diego, he faces potentially 2 years in federal prison, plus supervised release. This looming sentence adds urgency to his public persona, possibly explaining the intensity of his reaction to perceived slights. So here's what you've got. Boosie, facing his own prison stretch, is out here trying to be the loudest voice on who does and doesn't have street credibility. Kodak, with his own legal history, his own substance struggles, his own complicated record, is the one pointing out the inconsistency. And Young Thug, fresh out of a RICO conviction, banned from his own city, is caught in the middle, getting name dropped and called out by both sides of this thing. Neither artist has shown inclination toward de-escalation, suggesting this feud will continue playing out publicly. Boosie's suggestion that Kodak seek professional help indicates he views this as more than temporary beef, framing it as genuine concern for a peer's well-being. The hip-hop community watches these developments with a mixture of entertainment and unease, recognizing that such conflicts often have real-world consequences, extending beyond social media dramatics. This is the world Young Thug stepped back into when he got out. A culture in constant argument with itself about what loyalty means, what street code means, what snitching means, what survival means. And he's not a neutral observer in any of it. He's the subject. Rapper Rallo also joined the discussion, defending Young Thug's record behind bars. He stated, "Thug ain't went to not one federal prison yard. He had that weak-ass trial, and now he thinks he's Escobar. Imagine being called a rat and still walked every yard with my chest out." Young Thug later responded directly to Rallo. Thug wrote to Rallo, "You, right OG? I'm just saying some of us the police hate, and can't wait to put charges on ends for anything. So it's a case-by-case situation. But if you acting gangsta, stand on whatever comes with it fa show you overly right. But I am too, cause the police hated me fref R. They tried everything." There's something quietly powerful about that response. He doesn't deny Rallo's point. He doesn't get defensive. He acknowledges the truth in it while adding context, that in his specific case, the level of law enforcement attention was different, singular, that the police weren't just watching him, they were hunting him. And that changes what standing on it looks like, because the consequences aren't equal across the board. The protective custody debate, the snitching debate, the plea deal regrets, all of this swirling around a man who is now trying to rebuild a label, rebuild his brand, and rebuild his life under some of the most restrictive probation conditions in hip-hop history. If a judge rules that he's violated any of these conditions, Thug will serve 20 years of backloaded prison time, meaning he's essentially walking a legal tightrope until 2039. And yet he's not lying low, he's not quiet. He's not doing the sensible post-conviction PR strategy of staying off social media and laying in the cut. He's live streaming, he's posting, he's calling out to Kodak Black with blank checks on X. Every single move he makes is a provocation to the system that tried to crush him. A quiet "I'm still here" written in very public ink. That posture, defiant, active, unwilling to be diminished, is the context you need to hold when you look at the Kodak offer. Because it's not just a business pitch, it's a statement. Kodak Black and Young Thug have shared solidarity with each other in the past. The former's attorney Bradford Cohen expressed support for the latter's lawyer Brian Steele after he was arrested amid the YSL RICO case. The roots of a relationship were there. The legal solidarity was there. The mutual respect was there. Beyond the personal drama, Kodak Black and Young Thug have also shared solidarity with each other. The former's attorney Bradford Cohen expressed support for the latter's lawyer Brian Steele after he was arrested amid the YSL RICO case. That's a real thing. When Brian Steele, one of the most important figures in the defense of this entire case, was himself arrested, Kodak's lawyer reached out in support. That's not nothing. That's a visible sign of solidarity between camps. But solidarity between lawyers and solidarity between artists are different currencies. And what's become clear as this story has unfolded is that Kodak, for all the moments of warmth and mutual acknowledgement, operates on his own logic, his own terms. He doesn't do things because of who asks. He does things because he decides to. And right now, what he decided is freedom. Full, uncompromised, no contract independence was worth more than anything Thug could write on a check. Boosie's beef with Kodak, the protective custody war, the snitching debate, the Rollo pile-on, all of it converging in the months before Thug's offer, painted a picture of Kodak as a man who says what he thinks, regardless of the social cost. And someone who says what they think, regardless of consequences, is someone who will decline a blank check offer from an icon if they don't feel like signing, which is exactly what happened. Boosie wasted no time clapping back with a heated post on X, dismissing Kodak's criticisms while making it clear that money is a deciding factor in whether or not he addresses Thug's situation. Kodak, believe me, when it's time to speak on a situation, I'm go speak, but it's business. I get a bag to speak on these situations. Boosie admitting his advocacy is transactional is, in a strange way, the most honest thing said in this entire saga. At least you know where you stand. The problem is that Kodak called him out on the inconsistency, and the response was essentially, "You're right, but I'm being paid." That doesn't solve the inconsistency, it amplifies it. And the audience watching all of this, fans, artists, commentators, picked up on exactly that. The accountability war that played out online in September 2025 was ultimately about what kind of person each of these artists presents themselves as. Boosie, the moral arbiter, who acknowledges he gets paid to arbitrate. Kodak, the consistent critic, who'll apply the same standard to Atlanta legends that he'd apply to New York informants. Young Thug, the man at the center of it all, watching everyone debate his legacy, while he tries to figure out what the next chapter looks like. And the next chapter, as it turns out, is the one we're watching right now. Thug walking out of the RICO case, watching the remaining defendants beat the state entirely, feeling the sting of a plea deal he didn't need to take, and then within a year and a half, pivoting to become the most aggressive label rebuilder in hip-hop, reaching for Kodak, reaching for Nine Vicious, going on live streams, moving at a pace that says, "I lost time, and I'm not losing anymore." Fans also debated about where each lyricist is at artistically these days, arguing they're past their primes. Still, maybe a link-up is exactly what could re-energize them. That argument about being past their prime is easy to make from a Twitter thread. It's harder to make when you look at what both of these men have survived. Thug with his RICO ordeal, Kodak with his own recurring legal storms, and are still producing music, still commanding attention, still driving conversation, in a culture that moves at the speed of light and forgets artists inside of 6 months. These are not men who are past their prime. These are men who have paid prices most people will never comprehend and are still standing. and the fact that one of them extended a hand to the other and the other walked past it is the kind of story that only hip-hop generates, beautiful and messy in equal measure. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The detail that every fan in every comment section brought up. The moment Young Thug made his public offer to Kodak Black. The thing that reframes the entire gesture, whether it makes it more generous, more complicated, or just more confusing. The Mariah the Scientist situation, new leaked recordings and social media posts, renewed attention on the relationship turmoil between Young Thug and Mariah the Scientist after an exchange, in which Mariah said she rejected advances from Kodak Black. That story broke in September 2025, while Thug was still in the middle of navigating his post-trial life, while the snitching debate was raging, while Boosie and Kodak were at each other's throats. The leaked call landed in the middle of all of it and detonated. Young Thug may have already sat down with Big Bank for an interview, but his leaked jail calls scandal continued with more and more clips. In a recent one, Mariah the Scientist alleged to Thug that Kodak Black sent her a message saying he was fed up about her. Mariah read the whole alleged message out to Thugger, which also included references to Kodak's then incarcerated status and Thug's own jail time over the YSL RICO case. Take a second and actually absorb what that scene was. Young Thug, inside a jail, on a monitored phone call, and the woman he loves is reading him a message line by line. From another rapper, a man Thug had shown respect to publicly, explaining that this man finds her irresistible and wants to step into the space Thug's incarceration has created, while Thug is behind bars, while the trial of his life is grinding forward. While the message reportedly started with well wishes for Young Thug, the sender then pivoted into suggesting Mariah should consider seeing him while Thug was locked up. But in the meantime, "Shawty, I've been fucked up about you, and I just can't put that to rest," the man wrote. "I'd love to come to some kind of terms with you, bae. Queen treatment only." The man was trying to be smooth about it, and Mariah, to her complete credit, wasn't having it. She told Young Thug she responded saying she had a man and wasn't going against what she had. But the fact that the message existed at all, and that it found its way onto a jail call that got recorded, and that the call eventually leaked, that's a chain of events that does damage, regardless of the outcome. She said she rejected his advances, and the Atlanta rapper basically laughed the whole thing off, with the R&B singer also claiming that Kodak had been like that since they first met. Thug laughed, and maybe that laugh was genuine. Maybe Thug really is the kind of man who hears this, clocks it, and files it under not worth the energy. He's got a RICO trial to deal with. He's got lawyers to manage. He's got co-defendants falling one by one. The last thing on his mind, maybe, is a rap beef over a DM that didn't go anywhere. But since they first met, that detail. Mariah is saying this isn't an isolated moment of impulsive weakness from Kodak. This is a pattern. Every time they've been in proximity, the energy has been the same, which means this isn't just a moment, it's a dynamic, and dynamics like that don't disappear when the jail call stops playing. Industry observers say the leaks and social media exchanges underscore how private disputes among public figures can spill into broader conversations about accountability, mental health, and the interplay of fame and personal relationships. The episodes also reignited debate among fans and commentators over the ethics of sharing private recordings, especially when they involve legal circumstances. Then came the other leaked calls, because the Mariah Kodak DM was just one piece of an avalanche of personal information that escaped from those monitored jailhouse phones. Other calls included Thug admitting to sleeping with another woman the day before his RICO arrest, and a confession that he had sex with a corrections officer while behind bars. The private world of one of hip-hop's most prominent figures laid completely bare. Every conversation, every admission, every intimate moment of doubt or weakness out there, circulating, being dissected by strangers. And in the middle of all of that chaos, Mariah the Scientist was standing in her own storm, her name attached to a public soap opera she didn't create. Young Thug issued an apology after the calls leaked via X, writing, "My baby, I was wrong, and I'm sorry for what I put you through. Ooh, deserved better from me. Thank you for everything, and I will do anything to make this work. You showed me what love is, and I hope I haven't lost you forever. Everybody leave her out of this, please. She's an innocent girl and feels bad about all of this." That apology is a window into the man. The public apology, the vulnerability of it, the I hope I haven't lost you forever. This is not the calculated PR of a man managing his brand. This is someone terrified of losing a person who mattered to him. And it landed publicly because everything about his life at that point was landing publicly, whether he wanted it to or not. Previously leaked jail calls also included the Money on Money rapper, disparaging Glorilla, Future, Drake, Guna, and others, as well as admitting to buying fake streams. In addition to Mariah, Young Thug also issued an apology to his peers. So the man came home from a 2-year stint in jail under RICO charges, had to publicly apologize to his girlfriend, apologize to multiple peers. He talked about behind their backs on monitored phones, and navigate his legal probation conditions all at once. That's the starting position for his comeback. That's where the rebuild begins. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, the Kodak Black DM thing is just sitting there, filed away, not publicly addressed by Kodak, not escalated by Thug, just present, a fact in the relationship between these two men that never got resolved, never got acknowledged in public, just got laughed off on a jail call and then leaked to the world anyway. So when June 2026 rolls around and Thug posts his blank check offer to Kodak, the fans who know the history aren't reading this as a simple business pitch. They're reading it through the lens of everything that came before it. The most ironic part of the offer is how Kodak Black allegedly flirted with Young Thug's girlfriend while he was in jail. In a leaked jail call, Mariah told Thug that Kodak sent her a message, saying he's effed up about her. She rejected his advances and said the dynamic has been like that since they first met. Ironic is one word for it. Another word is complicated. A third word is brave, because extending that offer in the face of that history, whatever Thug's actual internal feelings about it, is a choice to move forward rather than backward. It's a choice to prioritize the future of a label over a grievance from the past. But did Kodak see it that way? There's no public record of him responding to the offer in any meaningful way. No tweet, no Instagram story, no interview comment, nothing. The silence is deafening in the very specific way that only public silence can be, where the absence of words becomes louder than any words could be. Kodak Black has not acknowledged the specific message Mariah described. As the story continues to play out on social platforms and in entertainment news cycles, both artists are likely to face ongoing public scrutiny. He didn't confirm it. He didn't deny it. He didn't address the leaked call. He didn't apologize. He didn't explain himself. He just kept moving. More music, more posts, more Kodak, which is historically how Kodak operates. He doesn't play defense in the court of public opinion. He doesn't do public relations management. He says what he thinks. When he thinks it and then moves on, consequences be damned. And in a way, that's exactly why the blank check offer was always going to struggle to land. Because the kind of relationship a label deal requires, the trust, the communication, the shared vision, is hard to build on a foundation. That includes an unanswered DM to your boss's girlfriend, a bunch of public criticisms about his legal situation, and a general pattern of operating like nobody's approval is required. Kodak doesn't need a label. He never has. What he needs is to be left alone to be Kodak. A lot of folks are happy for Yak, hoping his independence means even more new music than usual in the future. Others pointed to his newfound control of business and industry dealings on his own terms. The independence play is not just about money. It's not just about control. It's about identity. Kodak built himself out of circumstances that would have finished most people. He's been arrested, incarcerated, pardoned, arrested again, and through all of it, he's kept releasing music, kept finding audiences, kept refusing to disappear. That's not something you hand over to a label, even a blank check one. On May 6, 2026, Kodak Black was arrested in Orange County, Florida, for drug trafficking of MDMA. The following day, he appeared in court on charges relating to a December 2023 incident and was released on $75,000 bond. According to an affidavit, the charges stemmed from a November 2025 incident in Orlando, in which police searched his vehicle and found items that matched an Instagram post he had made prior to the incident. So Kodak was dealing with another arrest, another legal situation, right around the time his album dropped and Thug made his offer, an Instagram post used as evidence, history repeating in a way that's almost poetic in its grimness. And yet there's Kodak, days later, celebrated as an independent artist, with 26 tracks on the table and his face on an album cover, with Adam and Eve imagery, holding a guitar like he's arrived somewhere new. Kodak Black announced the album tracklist and cover art on Instagram on June 9, 2026. The cover art finds Kodak holding a guitar alongside Adam and Eve-inspired imagery. There's something intentional in that cover art. Adam and Eve, a beginning, a garden, the first humans, free from structure, from institutions, from anyone telling them what they can and can't do. That's not a random visual choice. That's a man telling you, in the most symbolic language available, that this chapter is about origins, about getting back to something essential. And then Young Thug comes along 3 days later and says, come back inside, sign something, join the structure, put your name next to mine on a contract. Kodak has stated the album is his last under a major label and that he'll be releasing music independently for the foreseeable future. The foreseeable future. That's not a temporary decision. That's a worldview, and no blank check changes a worldview, which is why in the end, Thug's going off, the urgency, the public nature, the whatever he thinks he want energy reads less like anger and more like the grief of a man who built something and desperately wants to restore it to its former size. He's not just pitching Kodak. He's pitching the idea that YSL can still be what it was. And Kodak's silence is the market's answer. Mariah the Scientist seemingly responded to Young Thug at some point by quoting lyrics from her new album Hearts, sold separately on her Instagram story. That detail is small, but it matters. The personal fallout from those jail calls, the Kodak DMs, the other admissions, the public apology, didn't just disappear. It settled into the relationship, into the art, into the ways these people carry themselves publicly in the aftermath. The romantic complexity, the public exposure, the unanswered DMs. It all feeds the same narrative that makes Thug's blank check offer to Kodak feel less like a casual business pitch and more like a high-stakes gamble. Because for the offer to work, you need Kodak to not only see value in YSL as a label, you need him to see value in Thug as a partner, as someone whose house is worth entering. After everything that's been said and revealed and leaked and debated, Kodak apparently looked at all of that and made his call. He's good. And that call, that quiet, undramatic, totally Kodak non-response, is what triggered the next move, because when Thug realized the offer wasn't landing, things didn't go quiet. They got louder. There's a version of this story where Young Thug makes his offer to Kodak. Kodak doesn't respond, and everybody moves on. That's the boring version. That's not what happened. What happened is that the non-response created its own gravity, pulling in fan reactions, internet debates, label discussions, and a whole secondary conversation about what it means to be independent in 2026 versus what it means to be on a label like YSL. Some fans supported the proposition, but many assumed Kodak was happy being independent and clowned Thug for trying to get him back in a label situation. Clowned is the word. Not criticized, not debated. Clowned, as in this is funny, as in you're that guy, reaching out to sign someone who just declared freedom from labels and you thought a blank check would do it. The internet, as it always does, found the angle that cuts deepest. And what makes it sting even more is the context of what YSL has been through. Because from the outside looking in, even if you support Thug, even if you think the RICO case was an overreach, the label's history is complicated. The legal associations are real. The probation conditions Thug operates under are real. And an artist trying to run his own thing would be taking on all of that baggage by signing to YSL, regardless of how much money is on the table. The plea deal resulted in Thug being sentenced to time served and 15 years probation, which came with numerous strict conditions. He's banned from the metro Atlanta area for 10 years, unable to make gang references in his music, and prohibited from contacting any of his co-defendants, other than his brother and Gunna. He must also submit to random drug tests, deliver anti-gang and anti-gun violence presentations in schools, and complete 100 hours of community service during each year of his probation. By the prosecutors is just wrong, he said. That argument that the prosecution was targeting a cultural institution as much as a criminal one is the argument that Thug has to win. In public perception, if YSL is ever going to be what it was, and the best way to win that argument is to sign big artists, make big music, and make the label undeniably relevant again, which is exactly why Kodak was such a perfect target for the blank check. Kodak Black and Young Thug have shared solidarity with each other. The former's attorney Bradford Cohen expressed support for the latter's lawyer Brian Steele after he was arrested amid the YSL RICO case. That legal solidarity was the foundation. It said these camps respect each other. These families have each other's backs when it matters. But respect and solidarity are pre-deal conditions, not guarantees. Plenty of people respect you and still won't sign on the dotted line. And Kodak, having just extracted himself from the biggest major label deal of his career, wasn't about to trade one set of contractual obligations for another, no matter the terms. Months earlier, following the release of his viral singles, Walk Spin, Kodak announced his departure from Atlantic Records and then signed to Capitol Records for an 8-figure record deal. An 8-figure deal. And even that, a massive life-changing sum, eventually ran its course. The man has walked away from money before. He'll do it again. The fan reaction to Thug's offer tells a story of its own. It wasn't just online clowning. It was a real debate about what YSL represents now, post-RICO, post-plea, post-everything. Fans also debated about where each lyricist is at artistically these days, arguing they're past their primes. But the past their prime conversation is lazy. It's the kind of thing people say about artists who haven't given them a no-one hit in the last 6 months. Both Thug and Kodak have been nominated, certified, critically discussed, and culturally referenced in ways that don't suggest irrelevance. They suggest evolution. The real question isn't whether either of these men is past their prime. It's whether their primes can share a roof. And the answer, at least in this moment, seems to be no. Kodak's prime. This version of it defined by Independence, by Kodak the Blessing, by 26-track surprise drops, and a key to the city, doesn't need a co-signature. It doesn't need a label deal. It's functioning exactly as it should without one. 9 vicious claims Young Thug is lying about resigning him to YSL Records, after Thug claimed during a live stream that he's resigning him. And this is the second piece of the YSL rebuild going sideways in public. Thug is going on streams, making announcements, and the announcements are getting disputed. The rebuilding process is noisy, messy, and playing out on the internet in real time. That's not ideal for a label trying to restore confidence in its brand. So where does this leave everything? You've got Thug, free, rebuilding, reaching, making noise. You've got Kodak, independent, productive, silent on the offer, moving at his own pace. You've got a history between them that includes DMs to a girlfriend, legal solidarity, public criticisms, and now an unanswered business pitch. You've got Boosie and Rollo adding layers of noise about credibility and survival. And you've got the RICO case, closed legally, but still very much alive culturally, casting a shadow over everything YSL touches. Grammy-winning rapper Young Thug pleaded out of his long-running racketeering conspiracy case and was sentenced on the spot to time served, 15 years of probation, and a backloaded consecutive sentence of 20 years that only kicks in if he violates probation. The 20 years backloaded isn't just a legal technicality. It's the thing that every artist considering a YSL deal has to mentally contend with. Sign with this label, and if the label's boss makes one wrong move, one probation violation, the whole thing could crash overnight. That's not a risk a newly independent artist takes on for any amount of money. And Thug knows this. He has to know this. Which is why the energy behind his offer to Kodak was so intense. Because Thug understands better than anyone that the odds are stacked against YSL being taken seriously as a signing destination right now. So he went big. He said, name your price, no games. He threw out the largest signal of intent he could muster. And it still wasn't enough. Regardless of how you feel about his style or his chaotic personal life, Kodak Black is a talented artist who seems to be mired by personal demons that undoubtedly affected the quality of his latest offering. Hopefully things can be cleaned up before another release from the Florida artist, while a few moments highlight why he was one of the most exciting, bubbling artists at the tail end of the blog era. As a full body of work, Kodak the Blessing leaves much to be desired. That review from a music writer who clearly has respect for Yak's talent captures the contradiction at the heart of this whole moment. Here is an artist who has everything: the talent, the catalog, the cultural weight, the key to the city, and yet the personal chaos, the legal situations, the admitted substance struggles, keeps getting in the way of the full realization of what he could be. And a record label, even with a blank check attached, doesn't fix that. Only Kodak can fix that. And maybe that's what the silence is really about. Not that the offer wasn't good, not that the money wasn't right, but that at this precise moment in his life, after everything he's been through, with the independence freshly declared, with the album just out, Kodak needs to be his own thing before he can be anyone else's anything. The timing was wrong, the history was complicated, and the blank check stayed blank. The aftermath of all of this is still playing out. On May 6, 2026, Kodak Black was arrested in Orange County, Florida, for drug trafficking of MDMA. The following day, he appeared in court on charges relating to a December 2023 incident and was released on bond. Legal trouble following him, even as he charts a new independent path. The pattern continues. The journey isn't clean. It never has been. And on the other side, Thug walks his own tightrope. Every live stream, every social media post, every business announcement, all of it happening under the watchful eye of a probation system. That's just waiting for a reason. If a judge rules that he's violated any conditions, Thug will serve 20 years of backloaded prison time, meaning he's walking a legal tightrope until 2039. Until 2039. Those words don't disappear. They follow him into every room. But here's the thing about both of these men, that the internet keeps missing in its rush to have hot takes and clown moments and debates about who's past their prime. They're both still here. They both survived things that were designed to end them. Thug survived the longest RICO trial in Georgia history. Kodak survived years of legal chaos that would have buried most careers. And they're both, in the summer of 2026, making music, making moves, and commanding the conversation in a genre that forgets people every single week. The blank check offer that Kodak turned down isn't the end of the story. Between these two, it's a chapter. Maybe it's a chapter that leads to something else. A collaboration, a different kind of deal, a moment where the timing finally aligns. Kodak Black and Young Thug have shared solidarity with each other before. The former's attorney Bradford Cohen expressed support for the latter's lawyer Brian Steele after he was arrested amid the YSL RICO case. Is a label team up the next step? Maybe, maybe not. What's certain is that the energy Thug brought to this offer, the urgency, the public declaration, the whatever he thinks he want language, tells you everything about where he is mentally. This is a man who spent over 2 years behind bars, watching everything he built get put on trial, who came out on the other side with probation conditions that reshape his entire life, and whose first instinct, freed and breathing, is to reach outward, to expand, to rebuild something bigger than what was there before. That hunger is real, and Kodak's silence, his elegant, wordless, total refusal to engage, is equally real. Two men both shaped by fire, both operating at the edge of what's sustainable, both carrying histories that most people couldn't hold. And right now, in this specific moment, they're looking at the same table and seeing completely different things. Thug sees an opportunity. Kodak sees a door he just walked out of. And the conversation that happens next, in music, in interviews, in whatever the internet surfaces next from their respective orbits, is going to be one of the more fascinating ongoing stories in hip-hop for the foreseeable future. Young Thug wants to give Kodak Black a blank check for record deal. Young Thug wants Kodak Black to name his price, to sign with YSL Records. Kodak the Blessing. Wikipedia, Kodak Black. Wikipedia, Kodak Black allegedly flirted with Mariah, the scientist, during Young Thug's jail time. Album review, Kodak Black, Kodak the Blessing. Hip Hop High Society.